A story that begins with hunger, hope, and a woman the world forgot, but kindness never did. Before we begin, if you love real stories that remind us there is still goodness in this world, please take a moment to subscribe to Kindness Diaries, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories like this to you. 15 years ago, in a small, dusty neighborhood on the edge of a town, lived an old woman named Amma. Most people didn't know her real name. Everyone just called her Amma, which means mother. She lived alone in a tiny, worn-down house with a leaky roof and cracked walls. Her husband had passed away long ago, and her children were gone, taken by illness and time. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, Amma would wake up, wash her face with cold water, and tie her faded sari tightly around her waist. She would light a small stove outside her house and place a large metal pot on top. Inside it, she cooked the same simple meal every day, rice and lentils. Nothing fancy. Nothing expensive. Just enough to fill empty stomachs because every day, 4 children waited for her. They were orphans. 2 boys and 2 girls. Their parents had died in an accident years earlier, leaving them with no family and no steady home. They slept wherever they could, sometimes in abandoned buildings, sometimes under shop awnings. Hunger was their constant companion. At first, they were scared to approach Amma. She looked serious, with deep lines on her face carved by years of hardship. But one morning, when she noticed them watching her cook from a distance, she waved them closer. "Are you hungry?" she asked softly. They nodded. That was the day everything changed. From that morning on, Amma fed them every single day. Rain or shine. Good days and bad days. Even when she herself had little to eat. She would serve them first, making sure their plates were full before touching her own food. She never asked them for anything. Not money. Not help. Not even thanks. Sometimes the children tried to refuse, knowing she was poor too. But she would smile and say, "A full stomach gives strength. Strength gives hope." As the years passed, the children grew. Amma watched over them like a guardian angel. When they were sick, she sat beside them. When they cried, she listened. When they fought, she scolded them gently. She couldn't send them to fancy schools, but she encouraged them to learn whatever they could. She reminded them every day to be honest, kind, and brave. The town didn't pay much attention. Some people thought she was foolish. Others said she was wasting what little she had. But Amma didn't care. Kindness, to her, was not a transaction. It was a duty of the heart. Time moved on, as it always does. One by one, the children grew into teenagers. Opportunities slowly opened. A local teacher helped one of the boys apply for a scholarship. A charity helped the girls find safe housing and education. Eventually, all 4 left the town, chasing dreams they once believed were impossible. On the day they left, they hugged Amma tightly. She held them like a mother holding her children for the last time. "Live well," she told them. "And be kind." After they left, Amma's days grew quiet. The pot was smaller now. The meals simpler. Some days, she cooked only for herself. She missed the laughter, the noise, the life the children had brought into her world. Years passed. Amma grew older. Her hands shook more. Her steps became slower. But she still woke early each morning, out of habit, and lit her stove. Sometimes, she cooked extra food without realizing why. Then, one ordinary afternoon, something extraordinary happened. A line of black cars drove slowly into the dusty street. Shiny. Clean. Completely out of place. People stepped out of their homes, whispering and staring. No one knew what was happening. The cars stopped near Amma's house. 4 well-dressed adults stepped out. Suits. Polished shoes. Confident posture. Amma stood at a distance, confused. She thought perhaps someone important had gotten lost. Then she heard a voice. Amma. Her heart skipped. She looked closer. The man standing in front of her removed his sunglasses, his eyes already filled with tears. Behind him stood the others, 2 men and 2 women, smiling through emotion. It took a moment, then Amma's hands began to tremble. It was them, the 4 children, all grown up. Before she could speak, they walked toward her and did something no one expected. They bent down and touched her feet, tears falling onto the dusty ground. "We came back," one of them said, voice shaking. "We came back for you." Neighbors watched in silence as the 4 adults helped Amma sit down. They told her their stories. One had become an engineer. One was a teacher. One worked in healthcare. One had started a small business that employed dozens of people, but they all said the same thing: "We survived because of you." They explained that every day, for 15 years, they had remembered her words. Her food. Her kindness. When life was hard, they remembered the woman who fed them when no one else would. And now, they had returned to give back. They told Amma they had bought her a safe, comfortable home. That she would never worry about food again. That she would have medical care, warmth, and peace. But more than that, they promised she would never be alone again. Amma listened quietly, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't do it for this," she whispered. "We know," one of them replied. "That's why we're here." Word spread quickly. The town that once ignored her now stood in awe. People realized that the quiet old woman they passed every day had changed lives in ways they never understood. Amma moved into her new home, but she never changed. She still woke early. Still smiled gently. Still believed in simple kindness. Sometimes, children from the neighborhood came by. And Amma, true to who she was, cooked a little extra, just in case someone was hungry, because kindness, once planted, never stops growing in the 4 orphans. They never forgot where they came from. They started programs to feed hungry children, to educate those without support, to remind the world that no one rises alone, all because one woman chose to share her meal. As this story comes to an end, remember this: you may never know how far your kindness will travel. A small act today can become someone's strength for a lifetime. You don't need wealth. You don't need power. You just need a heart willing to care. If this story touched you, let it remind you to be kind, today, tomorrow, and always. Because kindness always comes back, often in the most beautiful ways.